We're heading for Shark Bay and we hope to take the boat right around Dirk Hardock Island. And I'm a little worried because the weather's closing in and we could be in for an interesting few days. Well, the weather's a lot better this morning, beautiful clear day, so what we're going to do is jump in a small plane and fly over and have a look at Steep Point. Now, Steep Point is the westernmost point on mainland Australia, and off Steep Point is Dirk Hardock Island, and that's where we're going. We want to fly along, have a look at the cliffs, and then we can take our boat right around the island. It's going to be a great trip. This is really a dry part of the world around Shark Bay. You even have to buy your water. $1 gives you 20 litres. There's no fresh water around here, so they use a desalination plant to distill the water, and that's why you have to buy it. This is Steep Point, the westerlymost point on the mainland of Australia. It gets pretty swelly out here because you're in the Indian Ocean, beautiful blue water, and from here north to Dirk Hardock Island, some of the best fishing in Australia. Hook up, cut the motor, please. Cut the motor. These are not exactly the best conditions for fishing. You've got about a 3-metre swell, and the wind's picking up to about 15 knots, and we've got the Dirk Hardock cliffs there with the swell breaking, and I've got a big fish on here. There he is. By geez, that's a magnificent fish. Just put a glove on. We're going to get out of here. We're just a little bit too close to the cliffs. And the best part about catching these fish is eating them. Just cut off some nice big steaks and straight into the frying pan. Righto. Once we've got it simmering away there, a few luxuries because we're not away for too long. Soya, honey and garlic sauce. Put that on there, quite a bit. Now the curry powder on top. Oh, starting to look good. And put some honey all over that. My gum. Righto. Straight back on the fire just for a few minutes. You can see what happens as it cooks. You get the beautiful, delicate golden brown on the fish. That's from the curry and the honey. And inside you've got that pure white flesh. That is going to be delicious. You and your partner are the only 2 permanent residents on this island, is that right?
Spoiled.
And you're now running this ecotourism camp. This is very famous, this particular island, isn't it?
It is. It's the first recorded landing of a European in Australia in 1616.
And that was Dirk Hardock himself.
That was Dirk Hardock.
So we're here at the homestead, and I can run the boat right along the lee side of the island here.
That's right.
Right up to where exactly is Cape Inscription?
Cape Inscription's right at the top here.
And that's where Dirk Hardock came ashore and fixed the famous plate.
Yep, that's right, in 1616.
A replica of that plate here.
Got an exact replica of what he left.
That must be very rare because the original one's in the Amsterdam Museum.
Yeah, over in Amsterdam.
Well, we're stuck on the bottom end of Dirk Hardock Island. On the radio, they're talking about gale force winds. There's a cold front coming up the coast, and it's already bitterly cold. And there's nothing there we can do but put the boat in one of these sheltered bays and just wait for the winds to drop. We're now at the top of Dirk Hardock Island, and up there near the lighthouse is where the famous navigator and seaman put his plaque. And you really couldn't get a more inhospitable and dangerous place anywhere on the coast of Australia to come ashore nearly 400 years ago. And it's pretty rough today. It's building up to a 5-metre swell. I don't know how much longer we can stay here, but oh, got a very nice fish here for tea. Some really big waves building out here now, and I've just got a lovely pink snapper on the Halco. Look at it, move. Now just hang on. Yep. Get out of here. Right, hang on, mate. What a beautiful place to camp for the night after all the drama up the top end of the island. Swags on the beach, light a fire, cook the fish. It's going to be a beautiful night. It looks like there's a pot of whale showing up on the sounder. Got one coming up right at the stern of the boat now. This one's definitely having eye-to-eye contact with me. You know, they're so big, they're just a little bit frightening when they come this close to the boat. Just cut the motor, because the pot of whales just starting to come up to the boat now. There they are, look. This one's doing a belly roll right under the boat. Look at that, isn't that just amazing? This is unbelievable. Another two coming up to the stern of the boat. Look at that, look out! Oh, isn't that amazing? Don't get any closer. This is what makes these boating trips all worthwhile. I've never seen anything like that in all my life. When we headed up to the top of the island, Rick, one of our crew, got very seasick, so we had to drop him off on this beach. And now the swells come in and I can't get the boat in close enough to pick him up. So we've got this little inflatable. I'm going to launch it and try and get him into the dinghy. Welcome aboard. When the winds are up and it's freezing cold, always flick a nice fly. And look at that. Lovely snapper. He's off. That's a good hook up. And there we have a very nice coral trout. He's about 48 centimetres, so his size, so I could keep it for tea. Well, it's time for me to pack up and head back to Broome. And after the break, we're going to get stuck into some real good bush cooking. This week we're going to do some desserts because I notice out in the bush people yearn for something sweet. So I'm going to do the old-fashioned boiled pudding in the camp oven. We're going to do golden syrup dumplings, and they're my favourite. And we're going to do a sweet polenta. First thing you do is start with your mixed fruit, and you soak it in port or rum. I've soaked this in port. See how it's all swelled up? Leave that overnight. Now, I don't drink port, but I usually carry it in the bush for all my old stockman mates. Now, you add to that 3 cups of plain flour. Here we are. Now this is a pretty big cup, so we just put 3 cups in there. The next step is some boiling water, and we dissolve into that a teaspoon of bicarb soda. Just drop it in there, that's not there, that's okay. Right, get that all dissolved up. See your baking powder, look at it bubbling up there, and we add that in to the mixture. I'm out in the bush, I don't normally carry butter. So what I use instead of butter is the oil. Nice olive oil. The next step is a cup of sugar. There we are. And a good handful of the almonds, see that? Oh, look at that, isn't it looking good now? Righto. A couple of teaspoons of the mixed spice. See the mixed spice here? Righto, now we put in a teaspoon of this ground up nutmeg, see it there? Some vanilla essence, and you've got to be careful when you have glass out in the bush, carry it carefully. Righto, just a splash of the vanilla essence in there. There we are, oh that was a nice big splash. And just a touch of rum. Righto, now we're going to stir this all up and get it in the camp oven. Now we all remember the old-fashioned way of making the boiled Christmas pudding. Well, that's exactly what I'm doing here. I've got the calico cloth and I'm soaking it well in boiling water and take it over to the table. Put my mixture carefully in the calico cloth and tie it up and into the camp oven. And leave it for around about 3 hours and don't let it go off the boil. Out in the outback and in the stock camps, golden syrup dumplings are still very popular. So we get 2 cups of self-raising flour this time, and I don't have any butter again, so I'm just going to put in the oil, and I don't have eggs out in the bush, so what I've got is egg-like or egg replacer. So I've just got to mix up a couple of teaspoons of this and about 30 mils of water. This is not an egg powder, this is a substitute for eggs. For people that are actually allergic to eggs, so we just drop that in there, and at this stage I'm going to mix it up. To get it to a nice firm dough, I just keep adding the milk, and mixing it up and mixing it, adding the milk, stirring it up. The next step is to make up these small balls of flour. These are the dumplings, about the size of an apricot. I now have to make up the syrup for the dumplings, so it's just a couple of cups of water, 1, 2, into the camp oven, good half a cup of brown sugar, around about 2 tablespoons of golden syrup, 1, 2, and a touch of lemon juice, and straight onto the coals, and I'm just going to stir that until it all just starts to bubble up and all the sugar and golden syrup melts together. Once that comes to the boil, just add the dumplings and let these simmer in here for about 20 minutes. Well, the dumplings are ready and they look really good, but what we have to do is finish it off with some instant custard. See it there? Instant custard powder, which is great to carry in the bush, and around about 1 1/4 cups of boiling water, and I'll just stir that up for a couple of minutes until it's nice and smooth. Just get some of this nice sauce, a little instant custard on top, and as a treat in the bush, tin cream. And here's my pudding 3 hours later. And there it is. Just peel it away carefully because they can fall apart. Now that one looks pretty good. What I'll show you is a slice of boiled fruit pudding. Look at it. Beautiful. And once again, a little treat in the bush, tin cream. How'd you like that if you're hungry in the outback? Another product which is very handy in the bush, and we don't use a lot of it in Australia, is polenta. It's a finely ground corn or maize. See it there? It can be white or it can be yellow. Just put it in a bowl here. Now I'm going to make a sweet polenta, but you can use this with fish, you can use it with a spaghetti sauce, or you can use it with meat. So I'm going to mix it together here with a cup of cold water, then add 1.5 cups of boiling water. That's 1 cup, there's half a cup. Mix this together for a few minutes and straight on the fire. The next step is to get the polenta onto a tray, spread it out and leave it for about 15 minutes to set. After 15 minutes, the polenta is set, and you just cut it into strips, and there we are. And for a little treat, I've got some nice cherry jam here. Pop that on, and how's that for a little feed in the bush? How you going, Frank?
I'm going well, Malcolm. How you doing,
Hey, I noticed you got another new car there.
Yeah.
Hey, look at it. And a new running board?
Yeah.
Oh,
hey, steady up on it.
Upset a mate of mine already. You might pop that back.
Yeah, I will
Hey?
do. Yeah.
I'm
Might
about
fall through.
halfway between Broome and Port Hedland at Port Smith. Frank Hamlet here, he's an old mate of mine. He'd be one of the greatest endangered characters I've ever met. What's interesting about Frank is that he's semi-retired here, is that right? Not really.
Yeah, well,
supposed to
I'm
be.
supposed to be.
Supposed to be semi-retired here with his daughter, and he's got one of the best bird parks in Australia. Now tell me, where'd you get this old girl from?
Come from Wyndham, Malcolm.
Right up the top of the Kimberley.
Yeah, that's where she come from. I swapped it like a couple of emus for it.
That's a pretty good trade.
Yeah, it was
A couple
a
of
good
emus
trade.
for a car.
Yeah.
Now, Frank, this drum here intrigues me. What's this drum here for?
Well, just steady on there. That drum is there to support my seat, or it'll go back.
So if we get rid of the drum, the seat falls back too far.
That's right.
Yeah, well, you should patent that idea.
Yeah.
Now, the upholstery is looking a bit second-hand.
That's not too bad at all. Like, you know,
That's
that's so
all
as you can get the airflow.
This is something new, eh, Frank? The entrance to the bird park.
Oh, yeah.
Got the turnstile.
Yeah, got a
That's looking pretty
turnstile
good.
there. Kids
Yeah.
can swing on that.
I tell you what, the garden is looking magnificent. You know, down here, halfway between Broome and Port Hedland, it's one of the most arid places in Australia. But about 4 kilometres up the road, Frank years ago found some water. And look at this Garden of Eden. Got our cup of tea here. When did you first get interested in birds?
Oh, I've had birds virtually all my life. We used to show canaries and Guldians when I was a kid with the old man.
Yeah, and how old were you then?
Only about 8.
And where was your first job?
I left school at 14 and went to the South Perth Zoo.
Well, you didn't stay long in Perth, eh? You headed north.
Yeah, I was only at the zoo for 2 or 3 years and then came up north. A couple of mates of mine had one of Bones's old T-model Fords.
Yeah.
And we were heading for the Kimberleys, but we got as far as Mount Magnet and he got tangled up with a Sheila there and ended up selling the vehicle, and I just went out on a station and got a job on a station.
I know what a Sheila is, Frank, but just explain to my city viewers what a Sheila is.
A good-looking girl.
A good-looking girl is a Sheila.
I got into Broome in 1953.
When you first took over Roebuck, they were pretty wild days, weren't they?
Yeah, there was no fences like you could the cattle could go from Roebuck to South Australia and
Really?
not touch a fence. Like.
And were there many wild cattle on Roebuck Station?
Yeah, there was quite a few piker bullocks still around on Roebuck at the time.
What were piker bullocks?
Piker bullock's an old bullock that's been getting away for years and probably could be up to 18-year-old. Like.
And you'd ride them and muster them?
We used to, some of them we used to have to throw and tie them up at dinner camp because they wouldn't stay in with the coacher mob, and only when we were moving with them.
And you used to tie them up?
Yeah.
Right. And now look, we have here, you brought these out of the house, the horns of an old piker bullock. I have never seen anything like it in my life. Just have a look at those horns. If one of those went for your horse and got you in the,
oh yeah,
got the flank of the horse, so the horse would be killed, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I lost a horse.
Did you lose a horse to one of these?
Yeah, with a bull.
With a bull?
Yeah.
What happened?
I horned the horse.
What, he just come in like this?
Yeah, as we were going in to shoulder him, he swung around and horned the horse.
And after about 30 years on the land, on those big stations, you consolidated down here at Port Smith.
Yeah, yeah, we've been down here 21 years now.
And you just raise your birds and
yeah,
sell them all over Australia, and you also have this beautiful park here to show to tourists.
Yeah, yeah, we got the bird park, around 450 birds in the aviaries.
And that's what takes up all your day now, doesn't it?
Well, with that in the garden, yeah.
And you start early in the morning on the birds, feeding and...
Yeah, we'd be start feeding about 6 o'clock in the morning.
Now the Gouldian finch, I was down here years ago, and you were very successful to breed the Gouldian because they're becoming an endangered species, aren't they?
That's right.
In the
yeah,
wild.
In the wild, yeah, definitely. Back in those early days when I first come into the Kimberleys, there was thousands of finches around. It's probably, they really only got into trouble in the late 60s.
Do they know why?
Well, they don't really, but definitely fire. It's one of the big reasons.
People
why,
overburning.
Yeah, overburning, and that's why Gouldians have really got into trouble.
You'll never move from here, Frank?
No, I don't think so, Malcolm. No, I hope I'm still annoying every bugger around the place in 20 years.
Because you're on a most beautiful spot here, aren't you? It's called Port Smith, but you've got a tidal lagoon here.
That's right, yeah.
Teeming with fish.
Yes, it's a pretty good fishing spot.
Yeah, well, we might have a bit of a fish in the morning if we've got a bit of a chance.
Yeah, right.
I'll just clean her up a bit, eh, Frank? Polish it a bit?
Yeah, that's right, mate, but I do it pretty often.
Do you? Yeah. This is one of Frank's more upmarket vehicles on the place. This is the fishing vehicle. She's a pretty good one.
Oh, yeah, she's not too bad. One shot, it'll fire.
How's that? All right, I'll jump in.
Yeah.
Hey?
We'll go and drop a line.
What about the door? Hey, and the safety belt?
Yeah, we'll look
all
after
right.
them.
We'll be right. Close the door, safety belt on. Hang on. Oh, look out. Well, somehow we made it down to the lagoon. And all we have to do now, is pick up a bit of bait with a throw net, put the boat in, and we'll be off.
Righto.
Down south, these whiting will be just about big enough to eat.
Well, they're good bait.
Hey, aren't they? Look at that there. That's a beautiful fish. I got him on. Hey, hey. Oh, you won't do better than that, mate.
No, it's a bloody nice
How's that?
jack.
Hey, Frank. Mate, have a look at this. A beautiful blue bone. That's not bad. 5 minutes apart, mangrove jack and a nice blue bone. Now, where'd you get this old girl from?
Oh, we picked her up in Broome. A tree had fallen on her, and about 20 years ago.
And what'd you pay for it?
$200.
$200 20 years ago, and it's still going strong.
Still going strong.
Well, here I am in Elcho Island. Haven't been here for near on 40 years. I've come back to see all the old people and hopefully catch up with some of the younger generation and spend a week out in the bush do a bit of hunting, bit of food gathering. Really looking forward to it. I knew all the uncles here. You've got to be a little bit careful in the situation here because once people pass away, you can't mention their names. And these are all the next generation from the people that I knew here, all the old people. And then this is the next generation here. What we're going to do is make up some spears. And then we can go hunting. And this is what the Yolngu have been doing in Arnhem Land for thousands of years, cutting spears, and now we go out on the beach and we'll straighten them up. Once these spear shafts have been heated up on the fire and they're still hot, it's just a matter of getting all the bends out of them, using the pressure of the feet or the teeth here, and just work all the way along the shaft until you get it dead straight, and then take the bark off. Modern raw materials have replaced the old ones. This is reinforcing arc mesh, and they use a grinder, sharpen up the arc mesh, but the end result is always the same, a very efficient hunting spear. The next step is to burn the wire spear tips into the end of the shaft here, and then it'll get bound in with copper wire. Put the hand in, hands out. Once the spears are made, the hunt begins. What they use up here in Arnhem Land is a spear thrower, or woomera. So you've got this hook, it goes in the end of the spear there, and it gives the spear a lot more thrust, a lot more power. See when you throw it? Hey! Oh, come in. Oh. Oh! These guys never cease to amaze me. Just have a look at that for a headshot. Look! Isn't that a magnificent fish? Mirteri. Yo. Have a look at the size of that fish. Oh, taking home for dinner, eh? It may seem a little bit cruel hitting these blokes on the head, but you've got to kill them very quickly, otherwise they'll turn around and bite you. They've got these very, very vicious teeth here. So we're going to have a late lunch. We're going to have crabs, half a gigantic fish here, and on the coals is the liver that's taken out of the sharks. It's going to be a great meal. Anyway, today it's a different sort of hunting trip. We're going out in the dinghy. We're going after turtle, eh? Stingray, trevally, whatever we can get. Hey.
Yeah, number one.
That's him. Can I have that one? Oh. That's the stingray barb that you got to be very careful of. Oh, hey, let's go. Valley. Oh, we're having a great morning. Eh, Rachel? Garabooga's changed over to a larger harpoon. He's now after turtles. Garabooga's just speared a turtle. Personally, I don't like people killing turtles, but it's important that I don't force my values on these people. It's their traditional food, so that's the way it goes. The men have decided to come ashore and cook the turtle, which is really good. Rather than keeping it alive in the boat, they'll take all the meat back to the community already cooked up. So what they're going to use is hot stones to cook it. This is a very traditional way of cooking turtles. Once all the hot stones go inside the turtle, now jam all those mangrove leaves in there and just leave it to cook. There's a lot of meat on this turtle and it'll feed about 5 families tonight, around about 30 people. And this to the Yolngu of Arnhem Land is a gourmet meal. Turtle soup. Very sweet. And after a great couple of weeks, it's goodbye to my Yolngu family and it's back to the barge landing for the return trip to Broome. Witchetty grubs. I guess we've all heard about witchetty grubs in the Australian bush, and we all know that you can eat them, but how do you find them? Well, there's many species of trees that harbour witchetty grubs. The first thing you notice is the tree looks a little bit diseased, and if you go down to the bottom of the tree, down where the trunk enters the ground, you usually find what I would call grub dust or sawdust. See it there? And that's a very good indication that around the base of this tree we'll get some witchetty grubs. Now sadly this tree here is doomed to die because it's just been riddled with grubs. So what I'm going to do is get right down into the base of it and see what I can find. You can see here how the grubs had been boring into the tree here. See that? Here's a very small one here. See it? Doesn't look very appetising, but in a survival situation, that's good tucker. You can eat them raw. Very sweet. See the grub here in the root? There's that grub dust, or what we would call sawdust. And here we have a nice, fat witchetty grub. Just get him out. There he is. Now here's a really big grub. Now how do you know that this is a witchetty grub? Well, if you have a careful look at it, it's virtually got no legs. Right up near this very small head, there are just 6 little tiny immature legs and no other legs. Here's a bonus. See this? This is a witchetty grub that's almost changed to the moth, but you can still eat that. The best way to cook your witchetty grubs is small fire, bit of ash, drop them on there and just roll them around for a few seconds in the hot ash and they're ready to eat. You can see the oil coming out of the cooked witchetty grub here now, and that is one of the best bush tuckers you can ever find. Whenever you're near water, it's hard to survive without a good spear. Now I've got a very old piece of Rangoon cane here that I'm just straightening up. Then I'm going to show you how I make a spear. And we're going to go out in a boat at night, spotlighting, get some fish. I'm going to grind this down, drill a hole in it. I've got these 4 steel rods that we're going to stick in here and bind them in with wire and stick them in with araldite. Need a very sharp point on each of these prongs. I'm now mixing up the araldite that'll hold the prongs in place, and I'll jam it right down into this bamboo. It's a rising tide now. It's about 2 o'clock in the morning. Nice and still here, and these long toms moving around the mangroves, and that's what I'm after with the spear. Ah, nice one. Very nice. Ah. All long toms tonight. He's off. He's off. Down here, Will, somewhere. Down here, mate. Got him. Got him the second time. You can go fishing all day and catch big fish on a line, but this is probably greater fun. This is jabber, a jabberoo. Now it's the only stork we have in Australia. He got hit by a car on the northern road to Darwin about 18 months ago, and it's taken a long time for him to recover, and he's ready to go out to my arid zone billabong out at my wildlife park. Magnificent bird. He's pretty quiet. This is actually a male. The females have got yellow eyes and the males have got the black eye. Strange looking bird, aren't they? Well, going out to the billabong, out of town. This is his new home. This is our arid zone billabong, 20 kilometres out from Broome. You can see the huge numbers of birds that are here now. It's been in for about 4 years. And you can see Jabber's about 18 months old. He's just maturing now, getting this beautiful opal blue turquoisey colour here. And another 6 months he's going to be quite magnificent. Now, what I'm going to do is put him in this area here for about 3 or 4 weeks. And then we'll take the fence away. And if he wants to, he can stay around here. But if he wants to fly away, he's free to do that. Come on, Jabber. Here you are, mate. Where you go? Here we are. And here's 2 of my best mates. 2 dingoes. Now these are purebred dingoes, DNA tested. And we just built a new pen out at the wildlife park, out of town. So I've got to get these dingoes out of here, into the car, and out of the new farm. You ready, Bun? Come on, you can come out here. You come out. That's the boy. Come on. Oh, yes. Yes, come on. That's the boy. In the car. Bundy. Here, get up. In you go. Where's that other little bloke? One missing. Here. Come on. Here. Here. Come on. One thing about dingoes, they do exactly what dingoes want to do. Just run around. They're a wild animal and you can't train them. Just see if I can catch him down here. Here we are. Righto, let's go. Come on, get off the steering wheel. Hey. Now I've just got to get them from here into their new run. I'm now out at our wildlife park, about 20 kilometres out from Broome. Come on, hey, come on, hey, come on. Come on, Bun. Just get them into this gate here. Double gate. There we are. This is my favourite. This is the male. It's a very large dingo. He's from the mountain snow country from the back of Kosciuszko, way down on the Victoria-New South Wales border. Hello, this is a little desert dog from the Great Sandy Desert of Western Australia. She's a real little scoundrel, this one. She's a runt of the litter and sticks up for herself. And there's 3 or 4 different types of dingoes in Australia. You see, this one's a lot smaller than the dog here. It's got a thicker coat from the snow country, as long as they're handled from the day they're born. They're beautiful. We call them dogs, but they're not really a dog. They're actually related to the Asian wolf. They're descended from the Asian wolf. So they're actually a wolf, aren't you? Oh, and these are 2 very special dingoes. They're white ones, they're quite rare. The one that just took off then is virtually an albino, but they don't look pure white up here on the red soil. But oh, they're just magic animals. Hello, oh yes. There goes my hat. Well, hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll do it all again next week. Okay, mate. Hey. Hello. Hello.